I took on a lot of my mother's pain when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And so my desire was to be a husband because she didn't have one, and to be a father because I didn't have one.
Yeah.
And so that was the wake up call for me to yearn for that. And so that was the beginning of it. I've been married 5 times, and I tell people you can have a lot of women, but you only get one wife. And that's the same thing for me.
Yeah.
Until I met my wife, there was a screaming on the inside of me for who I needed to be. And I tell people when I met my wife, I wasn't even living right or anything. I had gave up preaching. For 7 years, I didn't do no preaching, no teaching. And so she met me in that state, but she brought me back. She woke up the father and the husband in me to even want to be it.
Yeah.
Mine came out of pain.
Yeah.
Um, my father wasn't in my life. I seen how my mother was treated by my dad, the abuse. She went through physical abuse and psychological abuse. And I seen how she struggled with us. It was just me and my brothers, just two of us. And so when I was a kid, people used to ask me, what do you want to be when you get older? And I used to say, a husband and a father.
Mm.
But it came out of, I wanted to love a woman like I thought my mother should have been loved. So I
Yeah.
was trying to save my mother through my experience. If I can become a good husband, then maybe that will reverse the pain that I was feeling, because I took on a lot of my mother's pain when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And so my desire was to be a husband because she didn't have one, and to be a father because I didn't have one.
Yeah.
And so that was the wake up call for me to yearn for that. And so that was the beginning of it. As I got older, and this one of my testimonies is in my first book. I've been married 5 times,
Mm.
and I tell people you can have a lot of women, but you only get one wife. I
Yeah.
met my wife, but I remember, I think it was maybe in my third marriage when it was over, maybe my fourth marriage when it was over, and I was working at my job, and I told my boss, I said, I'll never get married again. And he said, no, you got to get married again. I said, why? He said, man, because you was born to be a husband. You was born to be a father.
Yeah.
He said, you have too much father qualities in you. And that woke me up to even desire, because the last marriage was so devastating for me. I probably would have never got married again. I would have fought against it. But
Yeah.
he reminded me that that was in me. And so even though the wake up call came from pain, but the purpose was always there for me to be a father and to be a husband. That was always there. But
Yeah.
my first wake up call was trying to solve the pain that I saw my mother. That's what woke me up to this marriage thing. But I've always longed for. I used to want 10 kids. I don't have any natural kids of my own. I have a lot of sons and daughters, but I don't have any natural kids. But I've always desired. But it first came out of pain, and that pain directed me to purpose.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's an amazing dynamic between both of y'all. I mean, y'all both wanted a lot of kids, and one of you saw a great example, and you aspired to that great example, and then the other one is like almost out of necessity and
Right.
like a a fighter, a warrior. Like, well, I'm a, what I'm saying, and that's you know what, and I've heard you say that before, and I don't think I've ever heard anybody approach marriage like that. Like, I wanted to be what my mama never had. And I wanted to take care of her. I wanted to protect her. I wanted to, you usually people, get to that point just like, okay, I'm gonna buy my mama. I'm gonna go to the NBA. I'm gonna buy her house, but it doesn't really translate or bleed over into, you know what? I'm gonna be everything my daddy wasn't, and I'm gonna
Right.
be in first and foremost a husband. It's like,
Right.
yeah,
Right.
amen,
Yeah.
amen.
And it created a longing for me, because if it wasn't for that, I probably would have denied who I'm called to be. I'm called to be a husband. I'm
Yeah,
called to be a father, all those qualities. And so that craving, and really it was me chasing this emptiness that I was feeling,
mm-hmm.
because I longed to be loved. And so I felt like if my mother would have got the love that she was supposed to get, I probably would have got the love I was supposed to get. So I tied those two together. Like
Yeah,
you said, the father and the husband was very key, but
yeah,
it created in me a chase for it. I just didn't know how to attain it or even know what it looks like, but I knew it was something that was within me. And so I thank God for that, because I probably, and That's why, and even my father, he wasn't a father to me as much as I was wanting him to be. But
Yeah.
one of the things he told me, he told me, he said, I said the same thing to him. I wouldn't get married again, and he said, you that's what you're made to be,
Yeah.
and I used to look at him like, well, why didn't you help me become that, or why didn't you show me what that looked like?
Yeah.
But even he saw that that
Yeah.
was in me. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? And,
Yeah.
and I think that's why me and you talked about this many times. I think that's why the sensitivity of me being a spiritual father
Yeah.
has the weight that it has, because I'm still, chasing that fulfillment that comes from that. I might have shared this with you too. The movie, what's the movie? Silence of the Lamb.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and the guy asked her, why do you want to do this, Clarice?
Mm-hmm.
And she talked about how her dad had a farm,
Mm-hmm.
and the lambs used to get caught in the fence,
Mm-hmm.
and she couldn't stop them from screaming. And so every time she solved the case, she was, stopping the lambs, and he would say,
Yeah.
"Have the lambs stopped screaming yet?"
Yeah.
And that's the same thing for me.
Yeah.
Until I met my wife, there was a screaming on the inside of me for
Mm.
who I need. And I tell people, when I met my wife, I wasn't even living right or anything. I had gave up preaching.
Yeah.
For 7 years, I didn't do no preaching, no teaching. And so she met me in that state, but she brought me back. She woke up the father and the husband in me to even want to be it,
Yeah.
And so thank God that longing kept going on, regardless of how many times I was going after. There was something in me that was saying, this is really who you are.
Thanks for tuning in. Make sure you hit a like, share, subscribe for the YouTube algorithm so we can push this and get this to more people. Make sure you hit that notification bell so that you can be notified every time we drop new content, past, present, and future. Crown of Glory 360 Media. And like we always say, no matter where you go, no matter what you do, always remember to be salt and light and walk in godliness. Peace.